In today's episode, you'll learn why business leadership is crucial and needs to drive AI adoption for it to be a success in a company. We discuss why AI implementation usually fails if leaders aren't involved and how they can get started from the beginning. Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information about the business benefits for artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're talking about why leadership or business leadership is crucial for implementing AI in your company.
Carl, this is an important topic. I mean, AI adoption without strong leadership often leads to fragmented efforts, a lack of alignment with business goals, and ultimately missed opportunities for long-term success within companies.
We've seen this where even, we've done prospect meetings where we're talking to mid-level employees, junior employees, because they've been sent by leadership to be, hey, have a look at this AI thing. I don't have time for this. We present to the employees, and no offense to them at all, but then they have to distill what we talked about and then move it up the chain, which obviously you'll get lost with a lot of things. And we've also seen companies where you have pockets of people, maybe small teams using AI, but there's no unified approach and there's no leadership support. I think that's where AI fails as well.
Well, and again, we see it all the time. I mean, I'll talk to executives and they'll say, hey, talk to my IT department. They're so used to just handing off anything that has to do with technology or computers, just hand it off to an IT department, which is fine. The problem is that I believe AI is different. AI is going to affect your overall operations, and it's not going to be driven specifically from an IT initiative. It's going to be driven from your leadership and your executives in each one of your departments. So I think that's the big difference with this. And again, I agree with you. We've seen pockets where there's one division who has maybe a leader who is involved and interested in AI, and they're implementing AI applications, and other departments have no clue what they're doing. We've even seen it where you've got two different departments doing their own little initiatives and they're not even talking to each other. So then you get these disjointed AI approaches, and I think it's a lack of efficiency.
Well, I think we have to go back and remember that this is all about playing with AI unless it's tied to some sort of business goal, business objectives, right? Most C-suite, most CEOs, presidents really focus on, hey, what's driving revenue? What's driving our profit margins? What are the things that are driving our business goals? Yes, it's fun to play with all these AI tools, but when you actually take it to business, that has to meet, whatever your business is trying to accomplish. And if it doesn't, it's just playing with tools. So I think that's where the key thing is, and that's where leadership is crucial, because if you have pockets of teams just playing with tools or just using it for their specific use case, there isn't a unified business approach to AI, where then the company as a whole, at the very base, employees are being trained on AI, to not just one or two people or a team or two is seeing the benefits in the entire organization. Rising tide lifts all boats. And then at the same time too, the business itself is prepared for all the rapid progress that AI is doing, that they can adapt as a whole rather than just a couple people who may or may not be on the same wavelength as well.
Absolutely. And I, you and I can safely say and guarantee the fact that AI will have an impact on every single one of your departments. If it hasn't already, it will in the next 12 to 24 months. And that's everything from your sales, your marketing, your HR, finance, production, HSE, environmental, like everything. Everything down the line is going to be impacted by AI in one way or another. So why not try and get a bit of a synchronous approach to it from a company standpoint? To be, again, it's going to save time and efficiency in the long term.
Well, I think too, if you have leadership involvement, they can deploy the resources effectively across the organization, right? Like some of the things that you could think of are, well, if only one group is using it, but for one specific task, think about, hey, wait a minute, in another department, what you're doing could also save this department a lot of time and resources, right? So I think that's why those leaders are important, because they're responsible for looking at the entire organization, not individual departments. So we kind of get miffed when we are saddled with a junior marketing person that we're presenting to, and it's like, well, what is, no offense to that person, but that person's role or their job, no matter how awesome that person is in their role, doesn't their job doesn't require them to have the higher level overview of the entire organization, which if you don't have, then how can you properly deploy, implement, and strategize how AI can actually impact your business? So going back to your point, Jeff, yes, there are champions you can rely on, but you have to have leadership involvement, not just, hey, we're doing AI, cool, but them actually understanding what the technology is. They don't have to implement it, but they have to understand where it's going, because if they don't, they can lose the big picture, which then if another company, which we've talked about in the past, if they're competitors, or more importantly, a startup or an industry or a newer company that revolves their entire operations using AI to maximum benefit, that is a big disruption. Because now with the launch of operators, which we've talked about in a previous episode, they can deploy multiple operators that your team may still require multiple processes that this new startup can do in seconds or minutes that you're taking maybe hours or days.
And I think the thing that we get from leadership is that we get it. You're busy, you have limited time, you have limited resources, you're getting bombarded with all kinds of requests. Everybody wants to sell you something. Your employees all have needs. And so a lot of people look at AI and they're just like, bah, this is down on the bottom of my priority list because they just don't have time to deal with it. I would say that is 100% the wrong approach to it. You've got to carve out a little bit of time to be able to learn the basics of AI so that you can understand the bigger impacts. And if you take a look at some of you take a look at the internet, the taxi business and the travel business was pretty much, cannibalized by Expedia and Uber, Airbnb, all of these new companies that came out of nowhere, even the media business. I mean, I used to work in television back in the 80s and 90s, TV, radio, newspaper. They ruled the roost. They were making tons of money. All of a sudden, this little thing like Google comes along and Meta, and they're like, bah, not a big threat. Where are the TV stations, the radio stations these days? They're pretty much out of business. Take a look at Kodak. You see all these new digital cameras coming along, and they kind of ignored it. Blockbuster with Netflix. So don't run the risk of, having your operations in jeopardy because you don't have time to look at this new technology.
I think a couple places where businesses can start or leaders can start is really what we do is go department by department. You don't have to go all your departments, maybe pick one or two. And it's probably a really benefit to do this exercise anyway, once per year, twice every other couple of years, is to figure out what are the most boring, mundane, repetitive tasks that department does, the eye roll test, the ones that all your employees or all the people in that department will eye roll because they have to do weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and list all those tasks, all of them, right? And they'll probably that department will give you a lot. And it could end up being a bitch session. It usually turns up to be that kind of session where it's just full complaining about different things. But what you'll find is, one, you can find those low-hanging fruits, the ones that it's so easy to deploy an AI solution for. Could be a simple chat GPT, could be a custom GPT. You'll also see probably long-term, more comprehensive AI use cases, but you can probably help a lot of those employees out with that. But at the same time too, you have a document or an account, or just record the thing and now you have transcripts and let AI do the summary for you, where you'll know, hey, these are the operations we have. You'll even find out that things that you don't even need AI to solve, right? You can just delete that automation. Like, you have always the best example of us going in to doing discovery session, and really we didn't even need AI to solve it.
Exactly. We were dealing with this company, and the one department said we have trouble with the file they provide to us, the other department, so we always have to modify it if they could only output it in this format. So rather than, it wasn't an AI solution, we walked down the hall and said, hey, could you guys output this file format? They were like, yeah, we could. We've always been able to do it. They've just never asked. So we simply solved the problem by just having the two departments talk. But, I think that those are the kinds of things that we get so busy that we just don't pay attention to. Now, that said, simple things like meetings. I mean, we record all of our meetings online, in person, and we use a tool called Fireflies, but there's lots that are out there that can record meetings. How often do you go into meetings and you have people talking for 45 minutes, an hour, and everybody comes out with different notes written in books and iPads and everything else, but there's no action plan? Like, who comes up with an action plan? There's a lot of companies that have somebody that will take meeting notes and write action plans. Well, again, you can use AI and automate that and have an action plan 2 minutes after your meeting. Like, that's just a very simple use that every executive team should be using, and yet most aren't yet. And it just goes on from there, And again, I think that, like you say, boring, mundane, repetitive, data-driven, repetitive tasks, there's an opportunity for AI today.
So for a leader, you've been an entrepreneur, but we've been working with businesses for so long, whether we worked for them or we worked as consultants for them. We've seen leaders get so busy with a lot of different things. They don't have time for understanding about AI. What are some ways leaders could learn about AI or just keep up to date?
Well, you know what? I mean, there's options. I mean, there's hiring guys like us. I mean, that's one of the things we do is we provide education, and we act for many companies as their fractional chief AI officer. So our job is to provide them with information, but also just carving out time. There's podcasts that are out there like this one. Carl's on another podcast, the Daily Podcast, the Daily AI Show, which is a great resource. There's newsletters, and I think it's just a matter of making AI a priority in your, overall learning and understanding. No different than any other, new technology that's out there. So it's just, again, it's something that falls to the wayside, and it's something that's not that scary. It can be a little bit intimidating off the top, but once you start to understand it, it starts to come fairly, freely and easier to understand.
So I'm going to share with one example here of a potential use case for any busy professional, any busy business leader, right? And I'm going to use AI to do it. So I'm using, I'm paying, this is a paid platform, ChatGPT, the paid account, the plus account, so $20 a month. So what you can do is they have a new thing called tasks here, right? What's really cool about this is you can say, hey, give me a daily report on any AI news with business impacts. And you can go as deep or as focused as you want with this. And then what this will do is actually it will go and use ChatGPT search GPT, and give you the news specifically on AI news with business impacts. How this looks actually is I created one.
You can be specific and say for the construction industry or for the finance
yes,
or whatever.
Yes. So for example, here I have every day it gives me the latest news. This one is, okay, so this is January 23rd, 2025. AI developments relevant to business applications. So I get this every day, and you just go into ChatGPT and it gives you an actual email, because I actually said, send me an email, and it sends me an email about this too. So I have the specific things, it not give me all news because there's so many business news, but it gives me enough like, hey, that's enough of complete business applications that I need to know about. There's a whole bunch of others like going to X, going newsletters, but if you wanted to use AI, it can do this for you and do the search for you every day. And one on the 24th, and it gives me a very focused understanding of what's AI in the news on a regular basis. So that's one really simple way that you can get updates on using ChatGPT, because most people know ChatGPT and none of the other tools, and it's definitely worth the $20 a month for that.
Carl, that just made me think about the fact, though, too, is that a busy executive who doesn't have a whole lot of time, if you come across a 5-page written article on the benefits of AI for the home building industry, you can use AI, whether it's ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or anything else, and you can actually take that article and use an AI tool to be able to summarize it, so you don't have to read the 5 pages. You can use AI just to give you the highlights. And again, that's another use to be able to educate yourself on AI, but educate yourself using AI. And again, that also applies to any of your other business reports that you might get. If you get an industry report that's 100 pages long, you could use AI to summarize it and give you the Coles Notes version rather than having to read a full document. So you're using AI to help you educate yourself on the technology.
Yeah. Some of the questions that you could think about as a leader is, so one is, how can you as a leader foster greater collaboration among your departments for that successful AI adoption? Are you prioritizing AI, even if you are doing AI in your business? Are you actually prioritizing it for the business goals with clear return on investment, or are you just playing with AI? And then finally, what are some risks that your company could face when implementing AI without leadership involvement? And I guarantee you, as a leader, if your business isn't, having a unified AI strategy, there are people in your organization already using AI. So it's best, to have them be your champions and really have a unified approach. Learn more about implementing AI in your business by watching these videos here. Enjoy today's episode? Want to learn how you can leverage AI for your company? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.